I've been an artist my whole life, really. I probably was drawing on my mom's uterus, right? Like little cave paintings in there. The Good Seeds is like one of the current projects of my heart, and it aims to do for farming and gardening what Sesame Street did for the ABCs or 1, 2, 3s. And then the bad guy, of course, is Monocroc.
Dun dun.
Monocroc, who's literally just trying to convince the world to use his AI, which is artificial ingredients. When you look at your life, where's the moment where if you died in that moment, you'd be happy? And that if you could bottle that moment, that ecstatic connection, and give that to someone else, that's part of your gift. Follow your dreams. I believe in you. I believe in your dreams. I believe in your visions. Follow them with everything you have. It'll be okay. You'll meet people and other souls and amazing mentors and creators, and you'll find a tribe.
Welcome to the Ascension Podcast. We have a very special guest for you today. This man is one of the punniest men I've ever met, which is really saying something because I'm into my puns, as we all know. And this is Jon Marro, aka the Vision Sower. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, brother.
Yeah. So great to be here with you and on the show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so where is it that this spark of artistic inspiration comes from? And for context, this man is a visionary artist, able to take so many incredible concepts from the imagination and from this just pure place of creation and actually manifest them in a physical form in mixed mediums. So I'd love to hear, what it is that really sparks within your heart and, started you on this journey.
Yeah, let's see. I've been an artist my whole life, really. I probably was drawing on my mom's, uterus, right? Like little cave paintings in there. But no, my first grade teacher took my parents aside and said, most kids are drawing stick figures, and your son is drawing like facial features and embroidery on clothes. So I think we have an artist on our hands. So I'm pretty sure I came in to this life with it. And I like to say I put my 10,000 hours in early. Like I was just, what I love to do is just color. I love to color. That's another name some people call me is color. And coloring was a meditation before I knew about meditation, just as a way to like actively put my attention somewhere and to begin to, I never was really like into comic books, but I did love superheroes. And that's how I learned how to draw, was Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, and just bringing those archetypal characters to life. There was something about the imaginal realm that I saw in them where when I had the figurines, for instance, I was realizing like I was holding this and I was holding someone's imagination. They made that real and I was holding it, right? Not to mention just the archetypes within each of them, but I just to be able to hold something, I, as a kid, even got that used to live up here in the imagination, and now it's here. And so that's been part of my journey, is to bring the imaginal, the visionary, the realm of the muses to life.
See what it is, man.
Yeah. So I grew up in Vermont. And so really nature was my first god. I loved looking in streams and rivers and ponds and like under mossy logs for life. Like what is under the hood of this thing? What makes it tick? What is this mystery? And so nature was my portal. And I went to art school in Baltimore, Maryland Institute College of Art. It was a phenomenal fine art school. And I really got my butt kicked in school, realizing that there were people who went to magnet schools for high school, right? So they had 4 years. I remember, this is like a pivotal moment in my hero's journey where as a freshman, the coolest thing about art school, or one of the coolest things, was every wall and hallway was filled with art. Whether it's students' work or teachers' work or visiting artists exhibition, you walk around campus and you're like in a gallery always.
You're walking around the canvas.
You're walking around the canvas. So it was always inspirational, right, to see everything. And I remember seeing this giant life-size mixed media painting of these two nude figures in a field of sunflowers. And I remember thinking oh, I can't wait till I'm a junior and senior and can draw like that. And I went up to it and it said Armando Salas, freshman. And I was like, like, and realized he went to one of these magnet schools. We ended up becoming close and ended up becoming roommates, and I'm still, homies with him till this day. But really like used something inside my soul knew, okay, you have 4 years in school. This is a incubator. This is a womb. Use this to hone your craft. I saw other people kind of use it as partying, going out to school. I made sure to really like discipline myself, and I'd go out one night, but not both nights, and just, I knew that there were people that were ahead of me in skill, and that I had this opportunity that I could outwork them. Or
the
like
hunger.
The hunger, the tenacity to like learn my craft. And I really like took to colored pencils and just learned how to photorealistically render things with that and use school to bring that to life. But what I think might be good for this is I can send you images that I've done and you can sprinkle that out throughout the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just a little note real quick, because you said something really important there for anybody that's in a college journey or going through, a multi-year stage and phase. I went out one night, not two.
Yeah.
Brilliant distinction. I'm living the life that this is providing with all the social dynamics and all the, cool aspects of that phase of going to college. And I'm going to actually hone in on my craft. Yeah.
So I recommend that, just pace yourself, pace yourself. And your future self will thank you for it. Yeah.
That's a good framing.
That's a good framing.
The future self, the past self.
All of that. Yeah. So wherever you are now, there's a version of you that will catch up to yourself, and this can segue into so we're going to probably jump around here, but currently right now I'm about to release my next children's book called The Good Seeds. And I've been calling in all my clients and friends over the decades I've used to help promote it. And I'm realizing, oh, wow, these 10, 20 years I've been a freelancer, we're literally planting good seeds of connection, of respect, of portfolio pieces that I can then call upon now, 20, 25 years later, to ask people for help that are actually watering this book that I'm doing now. It's amazing how sometimes you don't, it's the wax on, wax off, right? Sometimes you don't even know what you're doing until you realize afterwards, oh, this is what that discipline was for.
Yeah. And being a good person to me is about planting good seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Actually seeing people as, their heart and their soul and their spirit. That's something I immediately saw in you. And we just locked in really quickly, met about a year ago, right?
Yeah. In October. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Maybe November. Either way.
Yeah. And just fast friendship, because the way that you show up is through the heart. It's so incredible. It's so easy to relate with. And then you've got all this expansion in your mind of all these cool concepts. So, I remember we were getting into the good seeds concepts, like the Braca lion. You had brought that one up. I'm like, no way. Is he shooting from the hip? And you're like, no, man, I've been cooking this up for a while.
Yeah. So, okay, let's see. The Good Seeds, we'll riff on that for now. So the Good Seeds is like one of the current projects of my heart that I've actually been working on and cultivating for 7 years. And it aims to do for farming and gardening what Sesame Street did for the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. So I have two of my mentors who became really close friends. They started a place called Cafe Gratitude, which was originally a raw, vegan, organic restaurant in the Bay Area that moved down to LA. And they practice a business called Sacred Commerce, where business is a path to awakening and using tools to, really meet this world with acts of soul and spirit, and sort of blending those two things that seem sometimes in contention with each other. And so they were mentors, but they also had a farm. And during the pandemic, I went out I was driving from LA to Portland, and I was stopping through there for the weekend. And right when I entered on Friday was when shelter in place happened. So staying for 2 days became 2 weeks, became 6 months. So I got this little gardening, farming syllabus. And that's when it really crystallized this project for me. I'm like, oh, I want to teach this to kids. And my putty self jumped in and said, let's think of these really amazing characters. So we've got Braca Lion, we've got Mangorilla, we've got Porcupine Apple, Queen Beet, Cucumber, Avocado, Mangorilla. Yeah. And then the bad guy, of course, is monocroc.
Dun, dun, dun.
Monocroc, who's literally just trying to, sort of convince the world to use his AI, which is artificial ingredients. And he grows his like basically very like invasive candy weed is what I'm calling it, through the light of digital devices. And so there's this whole other, it's a world building here. I'm doing a kid's book now just to introduce, put into the zeitgeist, plant the seed into the soil of the zeitgeist for kiddos, little young ones, just the characters, because they're very Jim Henson-like. Everyone loves them and can identify with them, hit that little archetypal place. And then I want to do eventually like a middle grade novel, like a Harry Potter meets a Farmer's Almanac, where I have like deeper kind of concepts that are going on. But that's part of my, so I just finished about a year ago, a year-long program with a teacher and eco-visionary called Bill Plotkin. His name is Bill Plotkin. Phenomenal. I'd recommend any book of his. And through that, Bill helps people find their mythopoetic identities, right? Like beyond just your vocation, what you're here to do. Mythopoetic identities, meaning like, why did you incarnate here on Earth or in the cosmos, right? One of my favorite lines is by a guy named, I'm forgetting his, Paul Kingsnorth. And he said, God created the earth and we created the world. And a lot of people keep trying to solve for the world. What am I doing in the world, in culture, right? And I think there's this deeper soul-like led place of the earth and the air, the water, this mystery that we're bathed in. Thomas Berry, another eco-visionary, said that space is Earth's ecosphere. Right? So we live in all these, ecologies, and Earth, this little seed, this little being, this little orchid of a planet, needs space to thrive. That's the soil, that's the womb. Like that to me is so profound to contemplate. And from that, and Bill Plotkin also believes that soul is an ecological term, that we are actually living in the soul of something much larger.
Their solar system.
Exactly. Seriously, to sort of sit with that. So yeah, it's probably just misspelled. So yeah, that's a little bit of the work I've been doing. So as a vision sower, I try to listen to the dream of the earth, the dreaming earth, and what it wants to become, and how I can play a part of that, and how I can contribute to culture and this planet that I love so much, and the medicines, and then there's the lineage of other greats that have come and stepped on here and just follow that procession of like beauty and art making. So, and I think that when I'm relating to myself as a vision sower rather than Jon Marro, it just expands my, I'm up to something bigger. Some other mentors of mine said that, what happens a lot sometimes in relationships, whether it's business partnerships or romantic partnerships, is they always recommend like get a bigger problem, because if like, let's say if you're out trying to solve world hunger, like the color of the wallpaper is not going to matter. But so many people get caught up in these little trivial things. But if we had a bigger mission, then everything else really kind of becomes trivial. I don't need to worry about the wallpaper or little tiny things. I've got a huge mission to solve,
Yes.
So anyways, that's a bit of where I'm coming from, and this new little book wants to take root in the world. And I hope to like stand on the shoulders of someone like Jim Henson or Mr. Rogers that can like plant mysticism and contemplation in the minds of children. And we so often look to the elders, but I think we need to look to the children as well. Both are very close to the veil, or closer than we are in middle life, to the veil, and have things to offer in both ways. We sort of romanticize adults, as like figuring it out. But no, like, and I also think that, to be able to like gain wisdom from both sides as equal parts of the community, there's something there. So I'm doubling down on that. And as someone who has just found my happy place, and whenever I've gone through breakups, my parents' divorce, my father's death, these big moments of my life, I sort of doubled down on my inner child, like what does he need and how does he want to play? And that's where I think you and I connected, was play. We just connected and play like so easily. Like we were like found each other on the school recess, and we're like, let's play. So that's a lot of what I'm bringing to life as well.
Man, that's the magic formula right there.
Yeah.
I talk about presence, passion, purpose, and play.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the whole things to me that are the super keys that unlock who we really are. Because like you're describing, the reason why the good seed is being seeded with the children is because the children are actually able to receive without so many layers and filters in the way.
Yeah.
Right. And so I love being around kids, especially really young ones, like under a year or year and a half. The amount of new, novel insight that they're experiencing on a daily basis, it's incredible.
Yeah, I like to say, I don't even know if they have imaginations. I think they live in their imaginations.
Yes, they are imagination.
And that's a little bit what Bob Plotkin is saying, is about, that soul is an ecological term, right? Carl Jung has a great line that says, people don't have ideas, ideas have people.
Yes.
And I think that's so true, that there's these ideas are entities.
Yes.
They're there and they're looking for humans to make them real, like enflesh them, make them go from the ethereal to the material, right? And we get to be the messengers and the bringers of that. And it requires like learning how to listen. And I think they'll give you incrementally like smaller and larger homework assignments. So that's one thing I'm always trying to do, is how can I be a good listener? How can I follow through? And how can I like really give gratitude for someone who's an antenna enough to listen and also be gifted these beautiful projects that when I actually endeavor to take them on wholeheartedly, they change me.
Oh,
right. So that's my alchemy built in, like that. It's like, okay, I got you'll love this. Because I get a lot of ideas like you. I'm sure like most of your listeners too. I got this from a medicine ceremony once that was profound, where it said, because I already had some homework to do, that I was sort of like, okay, what's the next thing, right? And the medicine said, you have your instructions, and the instructions are, wait for the next instructions.
You know what? As you've been describing all of this, the metaphor I'm seeing is about the fertility of our soul, the soil of our soul. So this body, as you were saying, the ideas floating through as their own energies or entities or consciousness, and they're looking for that fertile soil, just like how so many seeds get spread all over, but they need the fertile soil. And guess what? They have to go into the darkness to incubate. So that's the alchemy through all the stress, the struggles, all the things that we've gone through that are so challenging in life. We can actually come back into presence. It's fully embracing the dark and the light. That's when we become a whole being and a holy being.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's sometimes often misperceived, like the journey and the path of an artist to actually go into that fertile time, that dark time, that like cave-like place, and actually behind the scenes, doing the devotional discipline, like making a deliberate practice of connecting, listening, and following through. And I think a lot of people think it's just going to come through. Like you hear these stories of like, Tom Petty downloaded Free Falling in like 5 minutes. There are those gifts and those magic like downloads. We've all had them, and others require the alchemy, right? The grit, the sort of the pearl in the oyster, so to say. And that to me is, but when I listen and when I follow through, I know I'm being like reshaped and remade and becoming like the proverbial oak to my original acorn.
You're tilling the soil of the vessel to be able to actually see, and then by taking the action. I think that's the part that you're mentioning, because so many times I used to get jealous, for example, when I'd have an idea and I wouldn't take action, and then I'd see it pop up, 2 months later. And I'm like, why didn't I do that?
Yes.
As if it was mine.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. The idea was ready to come into being, to be born, and it needs to be in that fertile soil.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my probably biggest work, is just doing my best to listen, and that some projects take longer than others, and some have their own, gestation periods. Some Might be 3 months, 6 months, a year, 7 years, 70 years, but just keep listening and checking on it. Yeah. So I've got some longer ones that I always keep coming back to and seeing if is it still alive, is it still mine to sort of do, and usually they are. But I haven't learned that yet. Like the we've talked about this, the sort of spiral path versus linear time. That's something I just am like surrendered to. That just keep listening and doing my work, and I'm not trying to think I have any sense of time, patience. Those aren't really mine. Mine is.
Do you want to speak to what that means, the spiral path?
Yeah, well, I mean, my cursory understanding that I've seen in my own life is that our souls seem to be given lessons, right? Opportunities for wisdom, opportunities to integrate, whether it's karmic, whether it's just a sort of soul system, upgrade. And that will be given that like tests, really, like tests again and again and again until we learn them, We never know the test is coming. And also, I think that, it's very chop wood, carry water in a way where coming back to presence, how you mentioned it, is if we're really listening and we can kind of catch those moments again when they're coming back, there's that cliche of like the lesson will get louder and louder and louder until you listen, right?
Yes.
They can get walloped. And sometimes we've gotten, who knows why, like a soul could come in and have something happen in their early life that's the lesson, it's here to do. I don't know the mechanics of how that works from like an esoteric perspective, but I do respect the teacher called life. And I can see, and I've had enough moments, whether they're relational moments or whether they're professional moments, where I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I need to do some like reps to build self-worth or get stronger in boundaries or asking for what I need or just slowing down enough to say this. There's this great, have you heard of the autobiography in 5 chapters?
No.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can, I'm going to, like, it's great. Look it up, the autobiography in 5 chapters. I'll see if I can do my version. Basically, what I understand of it is, I'm walking down a street, and it's a dark road. There's a hole in the middle of the street. I see it. I fall in. It's not my fault. What am I doing here? It takes me a while to get out. Okay. Chapter 2, walking down the same street. It's dark. There's the hole. I see it. I remember it. I still fall in. I can't believe I'm here again. I get out. Chapter 3, same street. There's the hole. I can't believe it, but I fall in again. This time it is my fault. I take a breath. I get out. Chapter 4, same street. Walk down, see the hole. This time I go around the hole. I don't fall in. Chapter 5, I walk down a different street. That sort of feels, even though that's like linear, that to me feels like the spiral path, and probably depending on how hard you hit, when you fall down that hole, that could be a autobiography in 2 chapters. You go down the first time, you hit yourself hard up. Okay, not doing this again. My friend Ava and I, who I love dearly, she's someone I'll connect you with for a podcast. We have this joke about the dome light. Okay, so the dome light in a car. Mm-hmm. Okay, so one night I left it on. It just inadvertently stayed on all night, and then the next day I had some more important to me when my battery was dead, and I was so upset. I'm like, never again. I will never have that dome light. And I've just always kept the thing off, just because, like I never had that thing. I only manually turn the dome light on. I don't have it on automatically, and I didn't want to mess with the settings just to sort of in case that happened again. Mm-hmm. So call that a dome light. You can have your dome light moments where you can learn a lesson and be like, okay, got it. Never again. I'm not going to like self-sabotage myself in any of these scenarios.
Yeah. With the dome light in particular, I just carried jump packs.
There you go.
Lithium-ion batteries that you can plug in and just jump start.
That's probably
like the other road.
Exactly.
So utilize the dome light for what it is, but make sure it doesn't go to on position. It's on the door ajar position, right? So it actually serves its purpose.
I get it. I just went cold turkey on it for whatever. It's probably too extreme.
There are any boundaries.
Exactly. It's probably too extreme. One of my mentors also said that when you're learning boundaries, at first, usually we put up like the Great Wall of China, stay out forever, right? when really you might even need like a picket fence, you know? So you're like learning that the, the thickness of the wall, the thickness of the boundary, how safe, how big do I need it? We're figuring it all out. And so I think to grant ourselves and others compassion as we're all navigating this existence is key. And also to realize, especially when you've had friendships that have been over many years, and you can see the habitual things so clearly in others, but also see like the progress they've made. Like when people self-actualize, I'm so proud of it. Like it's so invigorating to me to watch my friends come alive, and especially areas and arenas in their life where they had this habitual thing going on that, you thought, well, they might just be that just might be how they are for life. And when they change that, it like shifts something in the collective grid. And yeah.
Oh, that's hitting on the core, man. There's so many directions that we could go here. One thing that I think would be really helpful is, could you talk about practices that you personally do to stay disciplined, not to stay disciplined, but to stay in the state of receptivity when maybe the body is not physically there, or it feels like I've been working on this project, chipping away at this project for so long, and it can feel like, the tunnel just keeps growing. Like, when is this going to actually come to completion? How do you actually alchemize that as an artist, where again, art is not about completion. Art is never done. It's just, am I willing to ship it at this current iteration and share it with the world and, everyone and everything?
Yeah, great question. I actually don't mind the word discipline, to be honest. I actually love it, to be like a disciple of the work itself. And this other insight came through in ceremony one time too, where it said, like the word masterpiece was really like praying, like, masters, help me piece this together. Right? So I love like asking for help from the other realms. But in terms of that, whether it's discipline, whether it's a practice, whether it's devotion, just ritualizing it, honestly, like showing up at a certain time and giving yourself, I say at least half an hour. I like to do an hour. One realization I had was, I just want to say this, people kind of like, well, let me just do a little bit. Like, no, I want to double down on this. If you're going to commit to your soul, go all in. Like, don't skimp. Because if you try, whatever the energy that's trying to skimp is like the shortcutting, cutting corners, and that'll just get you every time. So I try to say an hour. That's what I would say is to anyone who's serious about bringing something forth within them, give yourself an hour of like a proverbial do not disturb sign. Yeah, I want to bring the fire on this because it's that important to me.
Every day?
Yes.
Every single day?
Mean, I would say yes. And like, give yourself rest, just like the gym, but whatever the athlete you are of that particular craft, yes, engage with it sometimes. And if you look to nature, there are times of fallow time, right? There are times where you take a break, and there are times where you just listen and are being receptive. But when you're in it and are actively engaging, I would say every day, touch it. Maybe there's days on Sundays or weekends you can take out. You can figure that out. But like, make a schedule that works for you. Maybe it's 3 days a week. Maybe it's one because you've got kids and you've got a job. But make a schedule that works for you and commit. Like, be your word to that entity, that project that wants to come through you. And create your own discipline, and don't let yourself off the hook. Life will happen. I find that the mornings are best because no one's expecting anything of me. So and I had to discipline my sleep pattern. That was the thing, because I used to be like a night owl, I'd stay up till 2 to 4 a.m., right? If not 6. And that worked for a chapter in my life. That was a different time where I could get a lot done. No one was expecting anything of me from 6 p.m. till 6 a.m., or 9 a.m. So I had that window to tinker and play, and I loved that runway and expanse. But my body, as I got older, just was like, you need rest. Make a discipline of rest. And I probably had a lot of adrenal fatigue and other things. So to give myself sleep and then get up and meet the day. And so what I love doing too is journaling before bed or writing down like the to-do list. That preps me and my, sleeping soul self to like wake up and see what do I have, and try to prep my morning self with setting everything up for the day so that I'm leaving my next day self like set up for success.
There's something really interesting here. If you notice your emotion when you were describing getting up in the morning and looking at that, You had a big smile. So it's connected to the inspiration. What's on that to-do list can't be something that's like, ugh, right? If it's going to be artistic expression.
Well, yes, there's joy in like, when I'm engaged, there's going to be the taking out the trash, doing the dishes version of any project.
Right.
There's going to be that. But when it's for the larger whole, that's the joy. Like, that's what I want to live. There's one of my favorite books of all time. And if you haven't listened to this, great on audio book too. It's called The Great Work of Your Life. Phenomenal. Okay. It's all about Dharma, uses the Bhagavad Gita as to weave this thing, and has cultural icons like Beethoven, Gandhi, Susan B. Anthony, Harriet Tubman, Jane Goodall. And it shows these cultural icons and how they wrestled with their Dharma and how they avoided it, and how they sort of like, there's a thing he calls Dharmic denial. Okay. Where here's the fire of your Dharma, like what you're here to do. And some people like to stay warm by it, like a campfire. But really, we all just want to be consumed by the flames. That's what you want. But to like step in feels painful, which it's going to be. But once you're in, like a cold plunge, you're like, thank you, I did this.
Yes.
But it's that discomfort. So, I say make a pattern and stick to it. And that's the hardest part, because especially when it's not your job, and especially when you don't have any transaction or getting paid for it, it requires a level of faith, a level of devotion, a level of, I'm going to make my life about making this happen. It's another level of agency, right? And it's another level, I would say, of gratitude and belief in wherever that idea came from, And it's also an invitation to begin, like, to have an idea or a vision is to begin to play with the imaginal realm, and also to start a relationship with your own personal muse, with that realm, and to become in dialogue with it, and to become co-creator and participant in the unfolding of in the dream of life.
Okay. So give us some more juice on how somebody can be more connected to their muse, to their soul, to their spirit, to the whispers that come through.
Yeah. One easy way to connect that is like, what lights you up, right? When you look at your life, where's the moment where, like, if you died in that moment, you'd be happy and be fine. Like you were just like, this is 10 out of 10 what life is here to do. Like, I am so fulfilled. Look and see where that moment or moments have been. And there's some connection to what I would say is your calling or your soul in that moment. And that if you could bottle that moment, that ecstatic connection, and give that to someone else, that's part of your gift. Right? And that might be connected to a child being born, your wedding, surfing a wave, being on a mountaintop. It could be making arts. It could be serving people good food. There's something in it that you're here to do. It's a resonance, right? And I think listen to it. And there's also what I've heard called like the force field or the matrix, or regular world that's going to say, well, you have these demands too. So you're combating with that. It's a level of, and I don't know, there's no other way. It's a resistance, right? There's a resistance that you're going to have to like contend with, but something about that wrestling there's magic in that, right? There's like, what would you call it? It's for me, it's still so hard to convince people that of a hard workout, right? Of like setting yourself up for the discipline or the devotion of art making, because it requires your time, and it requires your effort, and it requires your presence. But I will say that the gifts of it far outweigh any kind of same thing. We have resistance when we go into the gym. Like, do I really want to go, but I'm tired? Or
My muscles are literally built because of resistance.
Exactly. David White is someone who says that. He says the antidote to exhaustion isn't like rest or sleep. It's actually living wholehearted. Oh,
that's a banger.
So that's what I was saying is, and when you find that resonance that you love, right? That place of like pure, like I can die here. that is wholeheartedness.
Mm.
And so I think one of our invitations, an opportunity, is to see how much of our life we can live wholeheartedly. And I know we all want that. And I know we've gone astray and we've lost the plot. We've made decisions, and we've had things that even with our best intentions, we've had things that were wholehearted at one point and then didn't sort of fulfill, right? To sort of pick ourselves up and sort of refine our GPS again. And that seems there's grace built in. It seems, right? As long as we're alive, that calling will keep calling. And I think our job is to continue to just listen. Sometimes slow down. Sometimes like grieve. Sometimes just process. And then also laugh, laugh and just give thanks for another opportunity to double down and try again, start again.
Beautiful. Wow. The GPS analogy is a really key one to me right now, because I feel like our souls have this linear progression. Like that's the journey of ascension. Our soul is here to learn certain lessons, to alchemize certain lessons, to become more and more full, more and more whole. And yet we have free will. So I can drive this car to the left or to the right to any degree. And just like you were talking about before with the hole that was in the road, right? I call them shakenings, those awakenings that happen. It's like the further I'm driving off of my soul's North Star, the more those things are going to come alive and start shaking and creating all of this friction and challenge and strife in life, because I'm going against what is like the way for my soul, and that's felt through the heart.
Interesting. This is all like semantics, basically. But one of the things that I've heard is that the soul, when you think of the word soul, that's actually descent, and spirit is ascent. So, and I think that you can't ascend without descending first. So I think that the whole is part of the deal, whether we intentionally or not. Like there are lessons there too, that we have to kind of learn and be uncomfortable, whether that's shadow or whether that's reckoning with the dark side. That even they say, this is this is out there, but might as well go there. So Lucifer, for instance, right, the archangel, heard, this is one mythology around it that I thought was really interesting, loved God so much that some being needed to actually hold the other polarity down there. And he loved God so much that he was willing to do that, to kind of go down and hold this. And that the only thing that's kept him sort of like sane and down there was just listening to his beloved's last words, which were "go to hell." Like that's what he hears, and he's like, it's like a command, a limitation. Also, on like a just physics level, when they've tried to get the Higgs boson particle in there, they've got everything into this one machine except one particle. Like it would just not go in, and it's a dark particle. It's almost like a little piece of like black matter that's holding this reality together. So that's where like these things kind of connect in, that somehow shadows are part of it too.
1,000%. Yeah. We're just in spirit land. There's no time. Right. There's no space. So therefore there's no jokes. There's no joy. There's no emotion. It's just straight neutrality and all knowingness. And so, yes, of course, being here, let's actually be here. Let's, bruise our shoulders, paint on our canvases, and let's connect and see what we can actually co-create.
Do you know Dante?
Dante?
Yeah. Like
which Dante?
The Divine Comedy?
Not yet.
Okay, great. So Dante was I think he was a 12th century poet. And the Divine Comedy, where it was like his little trilogy, but it was, he went down into, he took a little, with his muse, with one of his, a poet that he loved, Virgil, went down into hell and kind of saw all the cyclical natures of humanity and what we're kind of going with in the soul's journey. And then there was purgatory, and then there was paradise. So it was like he kind of descended first, then there was that sort of in-between phase, and then he was able to go to the heavens of the muses and sort of those realms. And this little Divine Comedy shows that journey first. So I think there's something so needed, but it's also not easy to go in there. I think we resist that. And it's not, what we've known as pleasant, but I think that there are, when we talk about the soul, to be able to, Carl Jung again says, until we make the unconscious conscious, we'll call it fate. So there's something about going into that darkness and staring at, squaring our shoulders to meeting those parts of ourselves, and bringing them home, bringing them home to the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what this podcast is about.
Just 100% agree, bro.
So let's see. So how does that all tie into what I'm into? I would say discipline and devotion is it's the practice. It's the daily practice. It's the yoga pose of doing art. It's me letting my life let others, both in this realm and others, that I'm serious, that I'm taking this thing called being an artist serious.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of my own life, when I'm face to face with my soul or the creator or whatever comes next, that I can at least wholeheartedly and like with sincerity say, I gave it my best. I was communing. Thank you. What's my next assignment? I can't wait. I hope I get to be a good ancestor on the other realm, like guiding people. Imagine that. Like, yeah, hey, whoever the next little, whoever I get assigned to, right? Isn't it like, hey, let me show you a little thing I learned back when I was Jon Marro, go this way, do this, and just getting to like feed other people inspiration, be a little champion and cheerleader. Great. So how do I use life as a school to be a good ancestor?
That looks like either a piece of art or a book.
Probably.
Or
all the above.
All of the above, bro.
Yeah.
Another project. Wow.
I do. It's called The Ancestor. So it's with an ampersand. And because they're both from the past and the future, they're digital and analog, life and death. Yeah, they're in the realms. The ancestors.
What are you cooking up with that?
It's still nascent. The good seeds is first, but that's what I've gotten so far. And they're these little beings that I think live in the digital realm. They live kind of in the rock, sort of mineral realm. And they're still beginning to speak to me, but the story's just starting to form. They've told me their names, what they are, and I've got the good seeds to do first. And that's one of the things is like don't try to be in. I'm not going to try to be in like college level course when I still have my junior high homework to do. I'm like, okay, one thing at a time.
So you're really staying in a receptive mode. You're co-creating, you're taking it to the next. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
Utilizing your particular art in order to have a conversation with soul and spirit of what's actually being inspired to be birthed through you and that calling.
Yeah, I just finished my first screenplay called A Monster Among Us. I can tell you about that here too, where the best way I can describe that conversation and listening is like when a project is alive for me, I can't stop thinking about it. It's like I'm the bone that it's the dog, and like a dog on a bone, like sometimes it's like on me until I actually finish it. And so I wrote the screenplay in like a matter of months. It was this thing where I was like, it just would not go away. And I loved it. I couldn't, it was just flooding me with nonstop inspiration. Wow. I was able to finish it. Yeah. Monster Among Us the premise is, there's a small, I grew up in Vermont, so there's this small little New England, Norman Rockwellian town. And there's a stranger who kind of moves in, someone who's doesn't quite fit into their like normalcy, right? And then around the same time, there's these monster sightings, and this monster, has committed a murder, and there's like these strange, surreal things that are, the monster is terrorizing the town. A lot of people are scapegoating and blaming this stranger, this other that they don't understand. And then there's a town hall meeting, and everyone has their opinion of what this thing is and what it's doing and why it's here. And then there's a tracker, a hunter in the background who stands up and says, it's real. The monster's real. I've seen it. I can catch it, but it's not what you think. It'll only bring it in under one condition, that we give it a fair trial. And so it's like A Few Good Men meets like Twin Peaks. It's this reckoning, and then you realize the monster is actually the town's collective shadow. So that prosecutor and the defense and the judge, everybody gets called out, and we realize that nature has much older and wiser laws than humanity.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Speak to that, bro.
Well, that goes back to like, God created the world and we created the earth. Even all these social justice movements are so well intended, but they're still trying to like fit into the human like civility dynamics, which is brilliant and beautiful. But also, how do we look to nature as the life-giving, guiding rules, right? Because there is a point where we go against nature too much that it'll kill us all, right? And somehow that's like somehow we also have the ability to create nuclear bombs, poison our water supply, do all these like atrocious, masochistic, suicidal acts, ecocidal acts to ourselves, and still be living. So there is a mercy and grace point up until a point. And then I don't know what happens then. And we seem to like be in a weird, kinky flirting with that like line, of what's possible and not.
Ecocidal. I've not heard that term before.
Yeah, like an ecology, killing off an ecology.
Right. It's so wild. If we're to zoom out, in many different ways, the chemicals, the things that are being created just to extract and not actually pouring into the soil. Our soil's becoming depleted. Even things that are organic, it doesn't mean that the actual soil has nutrients and vitality to actually transfer that energy to us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like we live in this life-giving, food, nourishing mother. And ecocidal, it's, we live in an ecology, not an economy. But we switched that. Right? That's the thing. We keep like thinking we're in an economy, and it's an ecology. That's what's life-giving.
Yeah.
So, much older laws, and I think if we begin to like respect them and learn them as another form of boundary, and again, I think it's a different laws of physics, even esoterically, right? There probably are different laws for spirit than there are soul, than there are flesh, right? And it's there's a chance, there's an opportunity, an invitation to be like this earth as mystery school that we're all, I think, tuned into and beginning to really learn our unique and collective lessons together.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the mythopoetic identity of finding who we are maybe on a terrestrial and cosmic level, right? And being able to do our work to the soul of the world and to enhance the life-giving world. Yeah.
How could somebody lock in a little bit more if they're fuzzy on what that is?
Well, I'm just going to say, because I think I haven't met anyone who's articulated better than Bill Plotkin. I would say start with any one of his books. I love Wild Mind as a way to start. Wild Mind is a great one. Soulcraft is another. Really kind of seeing what your soul is here to craft in the world. The best, this is an advanced level, and I mean this. Like I would say, this book. I mean, it probably took me 2.5 years to read, just because I had to process it all. But it's called The Journey of Soul Initiation, and really talks about that descent and finding your mythopoetic identity and delivery system and all that. I don't think that's a book. I personally don't think that's a book to like try to read in a month or two. Like I think it's like an almanac. I think and I mean this, I think it like belongs in the Smithsonian. It's like encyclopedic in that way. Like every chapter, you could sit on and meditate on for a while. So that really, that book really lays out the whole thing. That I would start probably with one of his other books first. Like
Those are all three from Bill Plotkin?
Yeah, I would say start with like start with a 5K before you do like, a full-on marathon, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. And so the Worlds Within studio.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to speak about that?
I love that. I'm just going to stretch my legs because my legs within. Worlds within, I believe everyone has a world within them. I really do. I believe everyone has a, not only like a soul landscape, but also like the laws and love and the ethos that they live by, And I believe that we can begin to bring those to life. Maybe through an act of entrepreneurship, maybe through an act of our own art, maybe through an act of being a parent, being just a human, begin to like be a steward of your own soul. And when you're meeting anyone else, like almost as if they're from a different country, or a different culture, and share your gifts. This is one giant potluck dinner that we're all here, And here's something from my own land, my recipe that I've learned, like for both food and also tools I've learned how to navigate, because we've all been on such different journeys. And I trust in life enough to know that no one gets out of here alive, and no one gets out of here without learning some major lessons if we're listening. And I love downloading the lessons from others. Like, I feel like that's what we can be sharing with each other. So Worlds Within, as a studio, wants to be what I call like a mystical PBS, right? What else did I call it? We called it like HBO if I had a crush on Carl Jung, and a garden cam, Mr. Rogers for the age of machine learning, a place that could, I feel like, okay, there's a few things. One, like most people are watching shows, most people are on screens anyways. So like meet them where they're at, right? Meet them where they're at. And I do believe people are watching things because at some level their soul wants to see that hero's journey laid out, right? And lived out. And we know that we have our own, and to watch someone else's is to be reminded of that we've got greater things than our little small selves to live out here. And when I watch most of contemporary culture's storytelling, they're all saving some fantastical world while this world is burning. So what does it look like to actually make this world the world we save? And SEC is a weird thing because that can seem like the Earth's going to be fine on its own, right?
Agreed.
The world that we savor together, right? The world that we embrace and are lived within. So I created a provocumentary that you saw called The Opening. And that was like my little kind of proof of concept of this much larger vision that I have, which I grew up and I saw this show called The Voyage of the Mimi when I was young. It was on PBS. I loved it. Ben Affleck was actually a young, he was like 10 or 11 when he was on it. And the premise was there was two parts. It was half an hour long, so 15 minutes of like a little fictional narrative, and then 15 minutes of an educational like documentary. And the premise was they were on this little Mimi, a ship, going to follow humpback whales around, and kind of like a little group of like a diverse crew of scientists that were tracking the migratory patterns of humpback whales. So you watch the episode, they get shipwrecked and they kind of go to the island. There's this island. This is before cell phones and everything, and their radio's waterlogged. They can't figure it out. And the island, the ocean, has got no fresh water. So they're like, how do we actually get water? They learn to use condensation, like this little tarp to make rainwater. And so there's just fun little science built in. And then after the show, the episode, there's an educational component that shows the science that happened in the show and really bringing that in, right? So the real actors from the show say, hey, here's my real name and I'm going to go learn something. So it's cool. I love that and I haven't forgotten about it. And I would love to be able to do that with these visionaries and wisdom keepers that are in our world. How do we actually make a show that becomes a Rolodex of the people that are elders to the community and way showers to be highlighting ways of living beautifully together. So that's this larger vision that I'm also reading. And that's been like a 25-year, thing that I've been tracking and following. So, and as a film, I thought, this is going to be way too expensive to make. Like, how can I ever do it? But with AI coming through and other tools that I'm sure, and I know AI is, I can see the technology behind it. I also know there's this huge environmental impact with like some of these massive things that are like factories that are being built. And so, the jury's still out, but I want to always use tools and art making ways to be, become a messenger for humanity's awakening. So yeah, so Worlds Within wants to be a studio. Like basically I call it a mystery school, like disguised as a production studio.
I love that, man. Are you planning on weaving in more nature-based cultures, different tribes, for example, in the way that they have been living for eons in a much more organic and heart-centric way?
Yeah. So I work a lot with a couple different organizations. There's an organization that I do design work for called Aura, the Omega Resilience Awards, and they give grants to fellows in the Global South, so Africa, India, and Latin America. Phenomenal. They are doing, like, when we look at the media today, it's so skewed and it's so divisive. And I'm watching these people do remarkable, staggering acts of humanity. Like, And when I go out there and actually travel outside the US and visit these other cultures and countries, there are so many beautiful things that are happening that just will never get the light of day. So that's also part of World Within is they say the revolution will not be televised. When I ask, what if television can be revolutionized? So that's also like what's up for me is beginning to do that and finding these stories, especially those who seem not to have a voice. So for instance, like in Latin America, I think it's in Argentina, but it might be Peru, but I think it's Argentina. There's these activists that are literally like wading through crocodile and anaconda infested waters to protest like hydroelectric dams being built.
Wow.
Like remarkable things of these are medicine men and women who are like giving their lives to Mother Earth in a way. But their stories really aren't being heard because, we've got all the sort of drama going on. So
Yeah.
I would love this station to be a place to tune in to these heartfelt stories, a different pulse going on.
Yes.
So that is, highlighting, indigenous communities, people just in the cracks, on the edges, that are so salt of the earth and so like the real heroes. We'll just call it that. Like they're doing it. They're not trying to be successful as much as they are trying to live in accordance and in alignment with the earth and her dream.
Natural law.
Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, brother. Well, if you were 6 years old right now, what would you be? What's the wisdom that you'd pass on to your younger self?
If I was 6-year-old passing it on to someone even younger than me at 6,
So if you go back, if you're speaking to your 6-year-old self,
I would say follow your dreams. Like, I believe in you. That's one thing I don't think I necessarily had as much growing up is like, I would just say, I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in your dreams. I believe in your visions. Follow them with everything you have. It'll be okay. You'll meet people and other souls and amazing mentors and creators, and you'll find a tribe and you'll find like soul kin. You'll find your people and your places that are purpose driven and passionate. Like, just keep going. And I think the hard part for me that I would tell him, and I have told my own inner child this is, and like some of the people you love aren't coming with you. Right? Like your mom's not going to come with you. Your dad's not coming with you. Your grandparents aren't coming with you. Some of your friends from elementary school and high school who I know you will love when you're younger, they're not coming with you on the journey, but they're going to be there for you for part of your journey. Right? And they're going to provide friendship, and your parents will provide all the, roof over your head, and you'll have food. You won't have to worry about that. That's good. And when you go out on your own, you're going to be on your own for a little bit, and that might be sad, and it might be lonely at times, but you will always meet the people you need to. Okay? And I believe in you, and you'll meet me, which will become you. You'll become me one day. So clearly you're set. Yeah. And just keep sharing your heart. That's what I'd say.
Aho.
Oh,
All right. Well, where can the listener learn more and connect with you?
thank you. I'd say jonmarro.com. So JONMARRO. I'm at Jon Marro on Instagram. At JONMARRO.com. No, at Jon Marro, right? And then goodseeds.com. Also links there. worldswithin.com. Also links. So you can find me. Look up, Google Jon Marro, put it in there. I'm around. And if any of this resonates, feel free to reach out, drop me a line. I'm looking for collaborators. And I also teach workshops on children's books and do creativity coaching. So I do a lot that I'm happy to share any of this wisdom with. And if you are a fellow artist, producer, musician, animator, filmmaker, and anything of what I said resonates, reach out. I'm looking for the band and the symphony to my one-man show.
You hear that? The call to action is there. If it's soul resonant and you feel it in your heart, then just hit this man up.
Let's play.
The man, the myth, the legend, Jon Marro, the Vision Sower himself. Love you so much, bro.
Yeah, thank you for this. This is so great.
Thank you.
Let's do it again.
Absolutely.